Hey, you're thinking about moving to Seattle, Washington, and you're considering a suburb outside of Seattle, a little bit on the north side, and you're willing to travel 30 to 45 minutes if you are traveling into work. Well, you might be considering a suburb like Woodinville, Washington. Today, we're going to get into kind of a complete guide of Woodinville. So, coupled with my other vlog that you should have hopefully checked out last week. If not, it'll be linked here. You're really going to get an idea of where everything is located in Woodinville, and then also the pros and cons of choosing a suburb like Woodinville, Washington to be your next home. So if that sounds good to you, then let's get right after it. Hi, my name is Kelsey Anderson, and I am a local realtor in the Seattle metro area. And I love to educate people about the area around Seattle, particularly the suburbs to the east and a little bit to the north of that Seattle area, just to give folks that are coming in from out of town an idea of what it would be like in these different suburbs. So the cost of living, pros and cons, map tours, things like that. Get to know the neighborhoods and the schools and all the things that, folks have questions about. So if you are thinking about moving here in the next 7 days or 7 months, get in contact with me using the information in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and tap the bell for notifications so that you don't miss another market update. So let's get into it. Before we get into the pros and cons and then the map portion of this video, I just kind of want to walk you through some fast facts about Woodinville to give you an idea of just sort of the vibe of this town, first and foremost. So number one, the median home price here is $1.2 million. So not quite as high as some of the other high-end suburbs that we're probably used to hearing about, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive than some of those southern suburbs I've covered, like Burien and Kent and Renton and Auburn, places like that. The population in Woodinville is 13,000, although another 22,000 are in sort of an unincorporated part of Woodinville. So it's really more like 35 to 40,000 in the smaller suburb. This area is really just known for kind of being wine country and just sort of this quaint, quiet suburb that kind of gives you a little bit of a rural vibe outside of the city, but also is very close to many amenities located right in Woodinville, and then also many not very far away. It's just a little bit more north up 405. So technically about 30 minutes or 20 miles from downtown Seattle. That's again without much traffic, right? So peak traffic times, if you're commuting for work, is going to be longer than that. And then Bellevue's a little bit closer just because you kind of have to just head down on I-405. And that's going to be 20 to 30 minutes south, again, without heavy traffic on 405, which can definitely back up, but we'll get into that later in the video. I want to read to you this little blurb from their website because I think this perfectly encapsulates Woodinville. If you don't know much about this place, I think this is perfect. So, more than a town, Woodinville is a creative convergence zone. Located in the heart of the Sammamish River Valley, this is a place where personalities fuse with passions, winemakers and grapes, farms and chefs, bicyclists and breweries, gardeners and greenery. They've all found a home here. Does that sound nice? So there's always something blossoming, baking, or pouring. So start your experience here and take it wherever your taste leads. Sipping, dining, writing, relaxing, your perfect blend. Those are some super fun adjectives, and those might be your vibe. I know it's mine. That's why the suburb of Woodinville has quickly become one of my favorite suburbs of Seattle of all time. And if you are from here or you've lived in the Seattle area, this is probably a different Woodinville than you grew up with. Just to get the negative out of the way first, let's go ahead and start this video with talking about the cons of living in Woodinville. Honestly, this is going to be pretty short and sweet because I think the pros are definitely going to outweigh the cons, but stick with me to learn all about the good things. So the first con of living in Woodinville is the cost of living. So data tells us that the cost of living index is 115. It's about 15% higher than the average price to live here in Woodinville as compared to the rest of the country. $132,000 is the median family income in a household in Woodinville, but news tells us that you really need $232,000 for a family to live comfortably here. So that's probably definitely going to be two income earners in order to live comfortably in the town of Woodinville. you're definitely going to want to check out my vlog just to see what the landscape of the neighborhoods and the town really look like, so that you get an idea of why the cost of living would be more. Why are you going to be paying more for groceries and healthcare, and there's not even transportation, but we'll get to that later. But why is everything costing more out here in Woodinville? Why does it cost more to live here? But you're gonna get to kind of get a feel of sort of a little bit of a bougie farm vibe out here in the suburb of Woodinville. The second con of living in Woodinville is just the traffic. So I would say this is probably the most pronounced con of living here, because it is right off 405 and you have to go way north on 405. So if you've seen some of my other videos about, Bellevue or Kirkland, 405 runs through those towns, and that's a con of living in Bellevue and Kirkland. Woodinville is even further up 405, so if you're having to commute down into the city for work and you don't have a remote job or kind of a flexible hybrid schedule where you're not always having to move into the city, this is going to be a major con for you. So 405 gets really slow, really backed up. So whether you're coming down to meet 520 and taking it west over to Seattle, or if you're working right in Bellevue or even in the Redmond area at some of those big tech companies that we have like Amazon and Microsoft and Expedia, places like that, that's going to be a huge con for you. Now, in addition to 405, which is that major highway interstate going north and south, kind of an offshoot off of I-5, you could take 522, which I'll show you later in our map portion today. That's going to kind of run you on the north side of Lake Washington, and you can get into North Seattle that way. But those are kind of the two main ways. And you're taking side roads and kind of this slower highway, which means more stops, things like that. So it's not really going to be a great way to get into the city really fast. And if you're not someone who likes traffic, well. The third con of living in Woodinville, Washington is the weather. So if you are not familiar with the Seattle, reputation of rain and clouds, well, it's no different out in Woodinville because we're only 30 minutes outside of Seattle. So living on the west side of the Cascade Mountains, it is definitely just wetter and a little bit colder in the Woodinville area. So I like to tell people, as much as Seattle gets a bad reputation for rain, I mean, we get as much days of sun as we get of rain. So about 150 days we'll get rain, even if it's just a little bit of rain, but 150 days we'll also get sunshine. So I think that's pretty special. But we do have over 200 days of clouds, at least a little bit of clouds. So we just don't have those sunny days like Arizona and California, where you just kind of are used to waking up and having blue skies all day long. It just doesn't happen. But I will say the weather is absolutely fantastic from about March/April, kind of depending on, all the way through September, sometimes even into October, we get really good years. I mean, this year we're here in the end of March of 2024, about to be April tomorrow, and we've had pockets of nice days. So we've already had a couple days hit 70 degrees, a few days in the 60s, and that's kind of what spring is like here. But we don't have to deal with big winter storms. It didn't really even snow here notably this year at all. Sometimes it does. My kids are, of course, a little bit disappointed about this year, but we just have more moderate temperatures on this part of the Cascade Mountains. So I think there's something to be said for that. We don't have wildfires or hurricanes or tornadoes or any of those kind of scary big hailstorms or things like that. So as much as the weather might kind of suck, it's also not that bad. The fourth and final con of living in Woodinville is there is not a crazy nightlife scene, and there's also a lack of transportation. So I kind of just coupled these two cons together, but there's really not a whole lot to do after hours out here in this suburb. You're going to want to travel into Bellevue or Seattle, which is going to be a pretty big Uber ride because it's 30 minutes outside of that large city. But there are wineries, of course, and breweries and distilleries. And there's, of course, lots of like arts and performance centers close by Woodinville. But you're just not going to have that kind of late night scene. A lot of those amenities are going to be in Bellevue and Seattle. Now, there is a movie theater in that downtown area. There's an AMC. So I think that's kind of cool. So there's something out here, but there's not a tremendous amount of things to do. This leads me to my second point, which is transporting to places where there would be a lot of of entertainment at night. The transportation is really lacking. You really are super, super car dependent in Woodinville. So there is, not only does the light rail not come out here, so it stops, it's almost to Redmond. They've got the infrastructure there, but it's not quite done. The light rail, the Sounder light rail, that goes all the way from SeaTac Airport, goes all the way north to Redmond, but it doesn't come up to Woodinville, so it's too far north. There's also no buses. There's no real transportation, city transit in the city of Woodinville. So you definitely need a car to get wherever you need to go. The number one pro of living in Woodinville, Washington is just definitely the beautiful scenery. Woodinville, as you're driving through, is filled of, over 600 acres of farmland. You've got a lot of residential areas with beautiful homes. You've got the Sammamish River running right through it. Reminds me of a river runs through it. And just in the Sammamish River Valley. So there are hills, certainly, and just lots of trees and wooded areas. Some of the homes are actually equestrian homes. So if you are an equestrian, you like to ride those horses, this could be a place for you to snag a home on some property. Again, it's a little bit more rural out here in Woodinville. There's also a lot of fun and recreation in the town itself. You're not far from these other areas, which I'm going to get into soon, but just a beautiful landscape of trees and open spaces and parks and water and just a lot of things that people move to the Pacific Northwest to get. The number two pro of living in Woodinville, Washington is the outdoor recreation and activities available here. So one of my favorite things to do in Woodinville is hop on the Sammamish River Trail. This is a 10-mile lake trail, so I should say river trail, that runs from Marymore, which I show more in my Redmond video, but it runs right along the river on the north side of Lake Sammamish. It actually connects all the way up eventually into Lake Washington, but this little trail is beautiful. It goes right along the river. It takes you up to the Burke-Gilman, which you can take into Seattle if you go through Bothell on the north side of Lake Washington, but just a beautiful trail. You can bike, you can rollerblade, you can run on it. It's great for families, and it's just on the west side of Woodinville. Part of that trail, there is a great park, and this is where I've run events there. It's called the Wilmette Gateway Park, and this is just kind of one of the stops. It's actually right to the west of my favorite little downtown area, Wooden Creek Village. But this park has a play structure for the kids. It just looks like kind of a great space to kind of run around and also just have some green grass along that trail. Another great recreation spot is Cottage Lake, which I take you to in my vlog, but this is a pretty big lake, great to kind of jump in the water, take your non-motorized boat out there. I don't think they take motorized boats, but this is just a great park. YMCA actually has a building there, and there looks like there's like a challenge course and a little public pool. Oh, no, I shouldn't say public pool because it's for the YMCA members, but just an awesome park out there. Another spot is the Woodinville Sports Complex. And so I also take you here in my vlog, but just a really cool space to, hit some golf balls. There's like 8 indoor tennis courts and 8 indoor pickleball courts. And so if you are into sports and golf is your jam or any other racket sports, this is going to be a really fun spot for you out here. Another great place to get out on the trails, kind of immersed in that forested area that we love, the Pacific Northwest. It's called the Paradise Valley Conservation Area. And this will be about a 5-mile hike, but just kind of located right in the heart of sort of East Woodinville. This is a really cool spot to just kind of get in that like really lush forest. It's kind of lots of green trees. You're kind of hiking. It's easy, it's like rated easy moderate, so it's not too challenging, but really cool, especially if you want more of those kind of hiking vibes and you're not buying a house in Issaquah. You can even rent a hot air balloon out here in Woodinville. It's called Over the Rainbow Balloon Flight, so that's kind of cool too. More outdoor fun. And then lastly, if that doesn't suit you, Woodinville is super close to places like Kirkland, which is right along the waterfront of Lake Washington, as well as Bellevue and Redmond, just directly south. And that's where you're going to see, lots more large lakes. If you want to, put your boat in the water and you want to jet ski, things like that. Or if you want to go on more hikes out in Issaquah, in the town of Sammamish, which is just south of Woodinville on that east side. You're gonna have all that fun really close by. If you are really serious about snowboarding or skiing, you're only an hour away, maybe a little bit over an hour 10 to get out to Snoqualmie. So out there, you're gonna have a lot of fun, but you're not too far from all that, and you got so much fun right in the city of Woodinville. The third pro of living in Woodinville, Washington is the incredible school. So if you have kids or you're planning on having kids, you will be a part of a fantastic school district. So most kids are part of the North Shore School District. Some kids will be a part of the Lake Washington School District on the south side of the city, but most families will feed into the North Shore School District. The North Shore School District has 23,227 kiddos, and 71% are passing in ELA, while 61% are passing in math, and 95% of students are passing high school in 4 years. Woodinville High School is that main high school that kids are going to go to. It's rated the number 14 best public high school in all of Washington and gets A in academics, teachers, clubs, activities, college prep, but a B+ in diversity. So it's not stellar in diversity. It's a little bit more, just like 1 to 2 races for the most part, but there's a little bit of diversity, but it's not as diverse as Kent and Auburn and some places down south. Woodinville High School has outstanding ratings, so 97% graduate in 4 years. There's 1,669 students, and 85% of students are passing tests in ELA, and 61% are passing in math. So if your kids are gonna be going here, they're gonna be taken care of in the public schools, which means parents, you don't have to pay, and your kids are gonna be going to great schools. The last 2 pros are pretty quick, but they are worth stating. So the fourth pro of living in Woodinville, Washington is the proximity to larger cities. So like I said, we're really close to Seattle and Bellevue if you consider, being more spread out with more affordable cities. So because Woodinville is within a 30-minute drive of Bellevue and Seattle, a lot of people that will have to commute for work are going to be supported in the fact that they know they don't have to travel hours and hours to work, and there's going to be so much fun and recreation in the city and restaurants and just the nightlife, as well as all the professional sports teams that come with living close to Seattle, Washington. Seattle is known for many different professional sports teams. Not all big metropolitan cities have that, and so you've got that within a 30-minute drive without traffic, of course. So just being close to those cities, especially all the tech jobs and opportunities that are in those cities, I think that's really nice for people to know. They can have that more rural vibe in Woodinville, but also be super close to those major cities. The fifth pro of living in Woodinville, Washington is it is wine country. We're going to get into the specifics of that in this map portion coming up, but there are over 100 wineries and growing in the city, and it's not just wineries. Woodinville is also known for a lot of famous breweries and also distilleries. So we're actually a part of, I think, 2 wine clubs right now, but we're going to get into that part right now. So let's see where those, not only where the wineries are, but where the distilleries, the different wine districts. I'm going to tell you where the high school is located and some of the neighborhoods and things like that. So definitely stick with me to the end so you really get an idea of how a Woodinville is laid out. Let's get into my computer and check it out. So to give you an idea what highways are going to be really important if you're living in Woodinville, we see Woodinville in relation to Seattle here. So if you're wanting to get into Seattle or Bellevue from work, you're going to, of course, have to get on 405 going south, and that's going to take you through Kirkland. And then at this point, you meet in Bellevue. You're going to be going west to Seattle this way. The other way would be hopping on a 522, which goes through sort of this northwest part of Woodinville, and then going on the north side of Lake Washington, and that will spit you out on the north side of Seattle. So those are going to be your main highways if you are commuting from Woodinville into those main metropolitan cities. The next thing I like to tell folks is where the airport is, because that is important. The cool thing about Woodinville, because it's located on the north side of the metropolitan area, you actually have 2 choices. So number 1, you could come up 405 and hit Payne Field. So that airport is right up here. It looks like a balloon. So that's going to be only 25 minutes to the north. Now this is a smaller airport. It's only got about 2 gates, but sometimes you can get good prices, and it's definitely easier to get a ride to that Payne Field versus going down to SeaTac. So that is what I will show you next. If I zoom out here a second, you can see where SeaTac is. So you're going to, again, hop on 405. You're going to go all the way south, literally kind of riding 405. I mean, 405 starts up here in the north and ends right here. So you're kind of riding all of 405 south. So it's going to take 37 minutes to get down to a SeaTac airport. So that's kind of a little bit of a distance if you have to travel for work by plane. Now, one thing I do like to show folks is where are those slopes going to be. So Woodinville, you're up on this north side. So there's actually going to be 2 different kind of ski areas that you might head to. And it's going to be a little bit over an hour, maybe an hour to an hour and 20 to get to either one of these places. You're kind of in the middle a little bit. So if you hop on 522 and then connect to 2, this is going to take you out to Stevens Pass, about an hour 10, hour 15 away. And then if you go south on 405 and connect out to 90, you've got Snoqualmie Pass, which is going to be a lot of skiing, snowboarding, inner tubing, things like that out there. So you're kind of in the middle of both of those popular ski resort areas. All right, so here is a neighborhood map of Woodinville. We're totally zoomed in now. I just wanted to show you sort of a layout. So it kind of is a funky shape, kind of a reverse 7 is sort of the proper Woodinville boundary, although it really goes out further this way. This is kind of all unincorporated Woodinville, and it kind of extends beyond that. It's very residential over here. So the most important parts here are going to be the town center. That is going to be your central retail area, where not only that's one of the districts of wine, but it's also where Wooden Creek Village is, and all those downtown just amenities. So all of your Target, your Costco, the high school's down there. We'll show you that in a second. But just all those restaurants and, your healthcare, all that kind of stuff is going to be all in that town center. On the south side, this is sort of quintessential. What probably a lot of people go to Woodinville is that kind of original wine area that's called Hollywood District. And then the West Valley District is sort of this other wine area that has lots of breweries and distilleries. The Warehouse District is a whole nother wine land that got added as well. And then in the town center, there is the downtown wine district as well. All the area kind of over here is mostly residential. There are some other residential spots over here on the west side, but a huge portion in the sort of east side is all going to be residential homes and neighborhoods around Cottage Lake, places like that. You'll want to check out my vlog to get an idea of what the neighborhoods look like. All right, back to my Google map here. I want to show you where the high school is. So to orient you, this is that main town center area located in the heart of that sort of backwards 7 that Woodinville is shaped like. And so up here in the Wedge neighborhood is where Woodinville High School, which most residents of Woodinville are going to be going to Woodinville High School. Check out my blog for more information on that. All right, let's end this map tour with just the fun things to do, the restaurants, the bars, things like that here in Woodinville. So you can definitely see the blue is going to be the Sammamish River that really runs all the way through Woodinville. It kind of connects up here because, again, it's going to connect over to Lake Washington. But a lot of the trail systems are going to be right along there. But I want to show you where the different kind of districts are, the wine districts. So the different wine districts, and this is going to include breweries and distilleries. So let's start there. Woodinville Wine Country has this awesome little website that's going to show you the different wine districts, which again include distilleries and breweries as well. That kind of shows you this really nice, I think, idea of what Woodinville looks like. You just see these trees and these different farmlands and the different wine districts. It just kind of gives you a good bird's eye view. This is the Hollywood district, kind of the heart of the wineries here in Woodinville. This is that downtown region. It's called Wooden Creek Village. And then this is going to be more of the industrial district up north. all along that beautiful Sammamish River. These are those 4 districts I was just describing. So downtown district is in the sort of the central town center area. I take you here in my vlog, but there's awesome wineries. There's actually a wine alley, and that is in that downtown region called Wooden Creek Village. But there's lots of wineries and this really cute spot called Wine Alley. Lots of fun there. Hollywood District is sort of the quintessential original like wine kind of center of wineries, and that's where we're going to be. Chateau Ste. Michelle is going to be over there, which has incredible concerts and just really fun outdoor space. Warehouse District is up north, and that's kind of more of a place where you get to know the winemakers, and you're sort of just in a more of an industrial area where the wine is actually, some of it's being made there. The vineyards aren't in Woodinville, but the winemakers and the wine is in Woodinville. And then the West Valley District, that's going to be right up from the kind of the southern Hollywood District. And this is where there's going to be lots of breweries and distilleries. Throughout all 4 of these different districts, you've got lots of restaurants, so you really can come and spend the day exploring Woodinville wines. I'm zoomed in here on the Hollywood District, which again is kind of probably the most famous and old school wine area. And this is where a lot of fun is, in the southern part of Woodinville, right on the northern tip of Redmond. So this main area down here is where a lot of the wineries are, and there also are some restaurants in here, but lots of spots have like outdoor dining and drinking spots, so which is really fun because you can be outside in the summer. You can get a wine pass, they call it a wine passport, and explore a lot of the wineries. A lot of the Woodinville wineries are featured here. And then if you go down this street, Northeast 145th, you hit a Willow's Lodge, which is a really nice hotel right along that Sammamish River. It's kind of an event center as well. And then most notable, probably the most famous winery in Woodinville is the Chateau Ste. Michelle. This is where there are major kind of big artists will come and perform at this winery, but just big, beautiful grounds. They actually do have some grapevines on site, although most of the wine in Woodinville is not made in Woodinville. We just don't have the climate for it here. But it does give you that vibe that you are amongst all the grapevines, which is kind of cool. So and then if you turn over here, Novelty Hill Janik Winery, that's a popular winery, but you got Woodinville Whiskey Co. over here. And then this sort of heads into the West Valley District along here, where you've got lots of breweries. I'm going to tell you about some of those here in a second, but I did want to kind of highlight this area because it's really special. All right, so I just kind of want to end this talking about, we didn't even have time to get into the restaurants. There's but incredible restaurants in that downtown area, and then all of the wine districts and brewing districts around Woodinville. There's really tasty bites. Downtown area is growing. There's lots of condos and apartments already in there, and then also just being built. So Woodinville is seeing tremendous growth, both in the residential area and then also just those downtown areas. Rusty Pelican's a really famous, popular brunch spot right in that downtown area, right next to Wine Alley in the Wooden Creek Village area. You've got Tipsy Cow, and just you drive along the street in downtown Woodinville and you're like, I love that restaurant, I love that restaurant, I love that restaurant. They're everywhere. So really cool. I also want to highlight some of the breweries that are popular here. So Black Raven Brewing, 20 Corners Brewing, Triple Corn Brewing, and lots of others. And then as far as the distilleries, you've got Woodinville Whiskey Company, Northwest Spirits, Puget Sound Rum Company, Pacific Distillery, and the list goes on. So lots of fun if you are into drinking. Of course, that's not the only thing that's available here, but definitely kind of a cool feature of Woodinville in addition to those kind of open green spaces out here in the country. So hope you enjoyed the tour of Woodinville today, both the pros and cons, and then the map tour as well. So definitely check out my vlog to check out more. And then if this is not your vibe, definitely check out some of my other videos to learn more about the suburbs around Seattle. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more and learn more about the city around Seattle, all the cities around Seattle. So I would love to help you. If you're thinking about making that move to Seattle, get in contact with me using the information in the description below so I can help you make a move over here and we can get on the phone or email, whatever. I love to hear from you guys to kind of hear what you are looking for and what your timeline for moving here is. So if I don't hear from you soon, I hope to see you around town. Have a great day.